Good evening and welcome to Kamaloht's annual Meet the Candidates Night. Could you please stand and remove your caps as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance? We have a flag over in this corner. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we start this evening's program, I feel we should take a moment of silence for a past Selectman, Tom Martin, who passed away recently. Thank you. As we've done in the past, each candidate has been sent an invitation to attend. In the invitation, I encourage each candidate to make a presentation, even if they were running unopposed. I remarked that it would give the newer voters in the town an opportunity to put a face to the name and they could give a brief description of their board's responsibilities. I've also invited this evening the Templeton Fire Department and the Templeton Police Department to speak on behalf of the override that they are seeking. You will all have the opportunity for questions, so please let the speaker finish their presentation. I do have a microphone that is right on that seat right there. If you do have a question, please use it so that Steve Castle can pick you up on the TV camera. Okay, let me see. To start this evening, we're going to hear from Templeton Sewer Department, Thomas Jelinuski, 3-year term.
Now you see my face. I don't know if I'm running unopposed or not, but
Yes, you are.
I'm running for re-election. And thanks for supporting me, those of you that did. Those of you that didn't, you have another chance to. Thank you. I'll just go ahead and report on some of the things we've been doing in the last year or so. We're currently well along on replacing the Pleasant Street pump station. So those of you that live in Baldwinville will be happy to know that you'll be able to flush your toilets reliably for the next 30 years or so. We did have a catastrophic failure on that station last fall, and I'd like to thank Frank Machete for rising to the task of providing 2 pumper trucks 24/7 for about 3 or 4 days out there to keep the sewer flowing, which could have been catastrophic if that hadn't happened. So we're well on our way of replacing that pump station. The construction has begun. We're trying to keep the sewer rates in check. We had a sewer rate survey done 3 or 4 years ago, and they recommended a fairly high rate increase, and we've been trying to keep under that. So I think we raised the rates a couple of % last year, which we didn't seem to get too many complaints about. And we're still one of the lowest rates in the state for a sewer treatment plant. We've been working hard to bring the accounting standards and reporting standards in line with what the town's been looking for and what the auditors came in and suggested the town proceed with. So we've been working hard for the last, maybe almost a year doing that. I think we've accomplished a lot since we started that. And one thing on a negative point, we could be burdened with another unfunded mandate by the state. The state environmental people are looking for a water runoff study to determine how much stormwater runoff gets into our sewer plant after storms. So we're working on a way to maybe get exempted from that, because we already do have a good handle on the amount of runoff that comes through our plant after a storm. And we don't know where that's going to go yet, but it could end up costing the ratepayers about $100,000 for that study that we don't feel we're going to get any benefit from, so we're working on that. That's about it. Anybody have any questions? Hearing none, thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom. Okay, I've received a letter from Rayanne Trifolo. She's candidate for re-election for the school committee, and I will read that presently. My name is Rayanne Trifolo of Baldwinville. I'm sorry that I could not be here tonight, but I think it's important to at least make a statement and to show my respect for this process. As a teacher in the district for 38 years, and as a parent of 3 graduates of our school system, I have an in-depth perspective of the function and importance of an excellent educational system in the district. As a longtime member of the school committee, I have been part of the planning for the new school since the need was recognized, and my goal is to make the school work in the town's best interest. I would like to continue to contribute my services to the district, and that's why I'm running for school committee once again. Thank you, Rayanne Trifilo. Okay, so we'll move on for the selectman's position. Candidate for re-election in position of selectman for 3-year term, Julie Richard.
I really don't like this stuff, but I got this. Good evening, and thank you for coming. I am nearly a lifelong resident of Templeton, seeking a second term on the Board of Selectmen. Thank you to the Royers for hosting the annual Meet the Candidates Night. Your generosity is much appreciated. First, let me encourage town voters to review my first term by reading past meeting minutes and viewing videos of Board of Selectmen meetings, all of which are posted on the town website. I must admit the last 3 years serving Templeton has been eye-opening. In my first year, I started learning the process of town government, diligently reviewing policies and procedures, many of which needed updating. I did my homework, studied the laws, and asked a lot of questions. One vote that stands out in my mind is that I stood by the voters when they voted no for the DPW requesting purchasing a dump truck. Shortly thereafter, the Board of Selectmen were asked by the department head to do just that with Chapter 90 funds. Unfortunately, my no vote was outvoted, but to this day, I still stand by it. In my second year, I became more confident in speaking my mind on many subjects. I furthered my education in politics, attended trainings, and the MMA conferences, all of which were helpful, and I met a lot of great people along the way. I became more vocal in regard to questioning departments and department heads on their decisions and firmly believed their budgets should never be overspent unnecessarily without consequence. The Scout Hall project evolved when it was suggested that East Templeton's gem of 1938 could be demolished. I advocated forming a committee to restore the building, and I'm proud to be a part of it. I look forward to its completion and reuse in the near future. After all, East Templeton is my hometown. In my second and third years, I supported and emphasized the importance of transparency with our new chairman and town administrator. For the first time in 5 years, Templeton's books were balanced. Accountability was strongly enforced. A new school was evolving, an annual all committees meeting was established, and personnel policies were updated. For the first time in many years, we only needed 2 town meetings to complete the people's business. If I am reelected, I will continue to embrace change by supporting economic growth and development, as I believe it will add to the tax base, bring in new business, and over time will lessen the taxpayers' burden. And lastly, I will continue to support our local safety departments. I urge Templeton voters to come out strongly at town meeting to support the override to maintain ALS ambulance service, support Templeton Police and the Highway Department. I personally thank each and every one of these essential departments for their service. Supporting these areas will only make them more efficient. If as many voters who supported the new school could come out to support these departments, Templeton would only grow stronger. As a selectman, I feel I have grown in my knowledge of town government, and if re-elected, I will continue to represent the people with transparency and integrity. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Julie? No? Hearing and seeing none. Good luck. Okay, the candidate for position of Selectman, 3-year term, Jeffrey Bennett.
Good evening, and thank you for all coming tonight, and I thank Tom and Luann for having us here again. I'd also like to thank Julie for serving her term. Having served previously as a selectman, I know it's difficult, it's hard. It's not always easy to get things done that you think should be done because it's 5 people. It's just not one person. So it's a lot of work, and I appreciate her serving. I was driving around and I saw a campaign sign, and it said, "It's time for a change" on the bottom. And I have to agree with that. I think it's time for a change on the Board of Selectmen, and it's more of my feelings of how things are going in general on the board, rather than an issue with a particular individual. As I stated, I previously served on the Board of Selectmen. I currently serve on the Advisory Committee as the chair. I believe serving on both of those entities has given me experience with lessons learned by making some good decisions and making some mistakes. I think those items give me guidance going down the road to be a better selectman and hopefully help out the town as a whole. When I served as selectman, I brought forward to the board the policies and procedures for the Board of Selectmen. To my knowledge, it was the first time there was local written guidance to not only guide the selectmen, but to watch them and to kind of hold them to some kind of standard. That policy is still in place today. It is on the town website. If you elect me, if I'm elected, what would I change? What would I do? Again, it's a 5-member board. You can't do anything by yourself. The entire government is by committee. Attendance is the biggest thing that I see. There are 5 selectmen. I watch and attend many selectmen's meetings, and a lot of times there are 3 selectmen there. There are 5 elected selectmen. They represent the town. At all the selectmen's meetings, there should be 5 at most, if not all, meetings. I recently served on the District Reorganization Committee. There were 8 meetings. I attended them all. I attended all of the joint budget hearings with the Selectmen Advisory Committee. When I serve, I miss very few meetings. I take it seriously, and I put in the time. Some concerns that I have, what's part of the reasons I'm running, is the accounting of spending of public money. I believe that all town employee salaries should be included in the annual town report. I believe all financial transfers, end of the year, non-town meeting, should be included in the report. In the 2016 report, they were not included. We supposedly have a good financial team. We have good numbers. I believe there is no reason why that information should not be included in the annual town report. Town bylaw states that selectmen are the managers of the town. They're responsible for policy, budget, contracts, and the legal affairs. When important items are voted on, as the last meeting I attended, approving 2 different labor contracts, there were 3 selectmen there. I believe there should be 5. You should make the effort to be at important events such as those. And being a selectman it's more than being elected. It's being available, it's listening and talking to people. You have to take the good with the bad. One of the advantages I think I have is I would have a good working relationship with the advisory committee if elected, because I presently serve there. At least I hope I would. There is also one last item. The regional school district agreement is going to have to be redone. It's going to require selectmen who are willing and able to take the time to attend the meetings and be involved in that important event. For the Board of Selectmen office, I believe I am ready. And again, I would thank Julie for serving, for stepping up. As you can see, attendance here is poor. It kind of replicates town meeting. And we really have to try harder to get people to come. Again, I don't have a lot of disagreement with Julie. It's procedural things and the like. And I just feel I could use my experience to help out. And we still have some difficult financial things that are hanging with us, unfortunately. And that is the reason that I'm running for the Board of Selectmen. And again, please show up and vote on May 7th. Thank you.
Take this?
I'll take yours, Cameron.
All right. Okay, this is on. So you talked a lot about attendance and records and things like that, but I think one of the underlying issues in Templeton is that we have slow growth within the community and that our expenses are rising at a rapid rate. We had discussed with the school committee that next year they will need a larger increase in their budget. How do you propose on bringing in new growth to Templeton, and how do you plan on rising the revenues or conversely reducing the expense in the town of Templeton?
The biggest thing to look at is, as far as new growth is aimed at generating revenue. One of the largest budget items we have in the town is the school budget. And I think, knowing what you just said, that next year, and attending the district reorganization meetings and the school budget subcommittee meeting, it's not a if that's going to happen, it's when. We are fortunate that we know that and we have a year. And I think the first thing to look at is the school budget. The net spending requirements, I hear it a lot. It's often said that Templeton's under effort in their support of the schools, and we're not. The numbers state otherwise. As far as trying to bring new growth to Templeton, the first thing that I would like to see is more marketing, more advertisement for the Economic Development Corporation. And don't have those meetings at 9:30 in the morning. Have them in the evening when people are more apt and more likely to attend. You might attract people who have the expertise, who have interest in business, to attend and become involved. There have been a lot of businesses that have tried to come into Templeton, and it's funny. People say, we want business, but when they try to come here, it's pushback, pushback, pushback. So do I have an instant answer for you? So I can say I could do 3 things and make that happen? No, I do not. And as someone who is in finance, you know that, I could say I would do this and this, but it will not make it happen. It has to be marketing, and planning. And to do some of the things that I think we need to do, one would be buy a large tract of land to develop it so we have something to offer. Right now, we just don't have the finances. And the state, they're in a tight spot too. I mean, one week they got good numbers, the next week the revenue is down. So it's something that we have to work on as a town and as a Board of Selectmen leading. But if you're going to have an economic development committee, you can't be meeting at 9 in the morning, in my opinion. People are at work. The people that you need there with the expertise, with the business knowledge, with the push, with finance stuff, they're at work. There is no real answer. And anybody, I think, who says, well, we'll do this, I don't think they're on the mark much. I will be here back at the around the coffee pot until Tom and Luann tells me to go. So if anyone has any questions, concerns, wants to talk to me about something, I'm back there. Thank you very much. I appreciate everybody coming.
Thanks, Jeff. Good luck. All right, at this time, I'd like to invite Deputy Chief Rick Payne to come up and speak on behalf of the Templeton Fire Department.
Good evening. Tonight I would like to speak about question 1 on the ballot. Question 1 reads, shall the town of Templeton be allowed to assess an additional $470,246 in real estate and personal property taxes for the purposes of protecting the public safety, including the provision of fire services, advanced life support ambulance service, additional training of police officers beyond state minimums, a community notification system, supplemental funding of the highway and snow and ice budgets, and the associated costs of insurance and benefit programs for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2018. Specifically, in the time allowed tonight, I'd like to speak about the Advanced Life Support Ambulance Service, or ALS as it's commonly referred to. The first thing I'd like to make known is the description of ALS ambulance service refers to the level of service that we provide. For the purposes of the override and the purposes of function, the ALS refers to the entire ambulance service. If the override were not to pass, we would lose the entire ambulance service and any associated benefits that come along with that. This is a service that the town of Templeton has had in one form or another consistently for over 40 years. So how did we get to the point that we need an override? Well, there's quite a few contributing factors. One factor is in 2016, when the town approved upgrading from a basic life support service up to ALS service, there was not enough money set aside in the budget process for this to happen effectively. As well as the fact that 70% of the transports that are made by the Templeton ambulance are Medicare or Medicaid paid calls. And these rates are set by the government, and that's a much lower rate than a regular insurance call. So the available revenue to the town for the ambulance service is much lower than what's needed to fund the budget. Combine that with the fact that all expenses in town, be it the fire department and other departments, the expenses rise at a rate faster than the revenues, the tax revenues can keep up with, then we come up with a shortfall. So what does the ambulance service offer the town of Templeton? In 2017, our ambulance responded to over 700 medical calls, and around 600 of these calls resulted in patients being transported to the hospital. 60% of those were at the ALS level. With an ever-increasing aging population in town and greater awareness of health conditions, Templeton has an increasing need for an ambulance service. With our current level of staffing, about 8 hours a day, we have responders come from home to respond to ambulance calls. They leave their house, they go get an ambulance, they go to the call. Although this provides a relatively quick response, the additional staff that we'd be able to add in fiscal year 2019 would provide for a firefighter paramedic to be in the fire station 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, greatly improving the response time to get vital pre-hospital care and life-saving equipment to the patient faster. Some of the other benefits of having a staffed ambulance service is that our new hire paramedics would be cross-trained as firefighters. This gives us the ability to have staff that can respond to fire investigation calls, perform routine inspections, and most importantly, we would have a rapid response for a fire call or a car accident. So a question that's raised is, what would our department be without an ambulance service? Well, we would revert back to strictly a call volunteer fire department. One of the major struggles today in any call department is getting members and retaining them. The days of having furniture companies and paper mills in town that would allow their employees to leave when the fire alarms went off are not there anymore. They're long gone. Today's fire service relies on individuals that go through far more extensive training than years ago. And a part of the way that we accomplish retention and keep people involved is to keep the interest of the members with some of the other services, such as the ambulance. 75% of our members are firefighter EMTs or firefighter paramedics. They maintain several hours of training to remain certified and enjoy giving back to the community by providing their service. If we no longer have an ambulance, many of the members would look to other communities to use their skills and to keep up on their training. And that would even further reduce the number of members we have available for fire calls. For many people, time is limited, and if they're investing their time in another community to maintain their EMT certification, they won't have time to help us. But we will still be obligated to the town to offer a fire department, and more importantly, we'll be obligated to have somebody respond to a 911 call for medical emergencies. So who are we going to send if we don't have an ambulance? We will need to send first responders with some basic medical equipment to start emergency care. The equipment that they have and the resources available to them would be far less than what an ambulance can offer. Even if we have a firefighter that is a certified EMT, he or she cannot perform as an EMT and can not perform those skills without working under an ambulance. And that's the law in the state of Massachusetts. They would be working as a first responder, reducing the level of care that they can offer while we wait for an outside ambulance service to come in. And sending these first responders will still have a cost attached to it, and there will be no revenue coming into the town. The responders will need to be paid, as well as we will need supplies for the calls, and they would need a vehicle to be responding in. So then at that point, we'd be relying on an outside agency to come in with an ambulance. Private ambulance services are profit-driven. They're going to have their ambulance and staff in a location where they're likely to be able to make the most revenue. That may or may not be in Templeton. So the response times for our citizens may be increased in outlying areas if we wait for an ambulance to have to come from Gardner or Athol. Many people have asked me what other communities do. Well, nationally, 40% of fire departments provide their own ambulance service using cross-trained staff, firefighter, paramedics. Only 18% use a private ambulance service exclusively. The remainder of that number fall into many categories: government-run agencies, county agencies, local hospital coverages, many different options. Locally in this area, all of our neighboring communities provide their own ambulance service. An ambulance service run by the fire department does cost the town some money, but it also provides a better level of service. The private ambulance services have their place in the mix. They offer interfacility transfers from hospitals to nursing home, hospital to hospital, operations that a 911 service can't offer. But those transfers provide the private services with the revenue they need to remain profitable. So the situation we face is multi-leveled. The ambulance service comes at a price, but it brings in revenue. It offers our citizens a professional level of care, and it provides the fire department with staffing that can be crucial to many levels of emergencies. We can put first responders on the scene of a car accident with necessary extrication equipment to help a trapped victim far quicker than relying on outside agencies, maybe even making a difference in patient outcome. Our staffing would be able to handle smoke investigations or fire alarms quickly and efficiently. At peak times of the day, when on-call responders are limited, we could do this without relying on mutual aid from outside towns. So reflecting on what I've mentioned, the ambulance service provides Templeton with more than just a ride to the hospital. So I encourage everybody to please protect public safety and vote yes on question 1. So, any questions? Thank you.
Good luck. Thank you, Deputy Chief Payne. I'd like to now invite Sergeant Steve Fliss to come up representing the Templeton Police Department.
All right. First thing I'd like to do is thank everybody for coming out tonight. Thank the Royers for hosting this for us. I'd like to apologize for Chief Bennett. He is away on vacation, and that was set up before this meeting was set. So he apologizes for not making it tonight. First thing I want to do is thank the public and the people of Templeton who have supported the police station from day one. Most of you have been to our police station and see that we need a new one. So I want to thank the public. Everybody's been very, very supportive to us, and we appreciate that. And I would like to apologize for us to come back and ask for more money. When we started this project, we really, really needed a station. And now that the project is gone and taken a little bit of time, we even need one even more. So I encourage anybody that wants to come up and take a look at our station. We will give you a tour. It'll take you about 4 minutes. It won't take you much time. But we encourage you guys to come up and take a look at the station. So the project began, and it was unable to go out to bid because of the town didn't have a bond rating. Now that we're working through that process, the economy has changed, and the municipal buildings cost has come up. Winchton and PD's renovation on the Sallyport project and the new Gardner hangar project have all come in over bid. So it's kind of changed in the last couple of years. So that's why we're coming back to the town for some more money. If this doesn't pass, we're going to have to use about $250,000 to $400,000 to do some work on the station that we currently have. Again, we encourage you guys to come up and take a look at it. The last wind and rain took some siding off and some molding off, and we now have a shower in the ladies' room, so it's great. So we're seeking an additional 1.5 in funding to cover the new estimated cost of the 2.33 and any possible overruns. The chief wants to really stress that this is not a Band-Aid, that this is what we need, and this will last us 30 years. And if we don't, then we're going to have to put a Band-Aid on what we currently have. And I don't think anybody in the town really wants to do that because that's exactly what it'll be. It'll be a Band-Aid. So that's basically it for us. It was kind of short and sweet for you guys, but I appreciate you guys letting us come up and talk and letting you know that we really need a station. So thank you. Any questions, comments? All right. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much for coming. That concludes this evening's candidate night, and get out and vote. Thank you again.